Oh, it looks like we are live. I forgot that I took the intro off.
We were like, what are we doing?
90
what are we
seconds.
doing?
We were live immediately. Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast. I'm here with Drew and Shane. Shane, it is your first time on our station.
Yep.
Welcome. How are you?
Doing good. I've been doing a lot of draft stuff past couple weeks and in particular, so it should be a lot of fun to talk draft stuff with you guys.
Yeah, and we are all in Epic Mock 25 drafting for different teams. So that I'm sure we're going to talk about that as we go through. Drew, we're going to start talking about first round picks for teams 2 through 8. But before we do that, anything new going on in your world?
Nothing much. Yeah, just still trying to crank out the very end of this this draft cycle. You know, knock out the finishing touches. Get some articles out last minute. Honestly, I'm starting to get ready for the 26th class. I'm getting my watch list together for summer scouting. So we're already gearing up for next year.
Cool. Okay, so we are going to do what's known as a first round challenge on the Draft Professor Simulator. So way down here is a first round challenge, and we're going to check that box. And I'm going to go for the Cleveland Browns. And each of us is going to do a first round challenge for each team. And one of the reasons we're going to each do it on our own is that the boards on the simulator move. So what we mean by that is that, okay, if I think the 5 most likely first round picks will be Shedeur Sanders if he's there, I think that that's a logical choice. And then if Cam Ward is there, I think that's a very logical choice for Cleveland. And the 2 other most obvious ones would be Travis Hunter. And because I think Travis Hunter is more logical than Abdul Carter. And Abdul Carter just got picked, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, so now I have to come up with 2 other, let's say, off-the-wall ideas for Cleveland in round 1. I'm going to go Ashton Genty.
Okay.
Yeah,
and I'm purposely not picking Abdul Carter, not because I don't think it's logical, but because I want to see if I can get Hunter higher than Carter.
Right. I see.
So
okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna go Will Campbell.
These top 2 teams are going to be tough because it's like, you know, there's really only 2 blue chip guys in this draft. So, like, realistically, you're only looking between Carter and Hunter. Yep. I guess the Shedeur is still also very much in play for Cleveland. But
and what you're trying to do when you do this, if you can get 5 A pluses, it means that the player that you liked is also the player that was at the top of the draft card. And that's ultimately it is a game. It's the game within the game.
Right.
But Drew, I'll put you up for Cleveland. Who are you thinking is their most likely pick if Cam Ward is off the board?
It's probably if I had to put money on it right now, I feel like Travis Hunter has kind of been the guy who's pulled away from that. I think it's one of the 2 Colorado guys. So my next pick will be Shedeur, assuming he is there. It's between one of those 2. From what I know, Abdul Carter is kind of falling out of that rotation. I think he's obviously the 3rd choice behind them, but I think it's going to be one of the 2 Colorado guys. I still think they really like Shedeur. I think Shedeur is a great fit for Stefanski. I think that Cleveland supposedly really likes him. But I think with what has come out about him really, really sliding, you know, possibly even out of the top 10, you know, that's probably the one where you grab the generational guy in Travis Hunter, and then you maybe could package a deal, get back up for Shedeur. That's been talked about. But yeah, I think you got to throw Abdul Carter in here, even if maybe he's not the one in contention. He's still, in my opinion, the best player in this class. Past those 3 is where it really gets interesting. So I assume Cam is going to be here in the challenge, but you know, realistically, he won't be.
And it's okay to pick him because you're saying if he's there, do you pick him?
Right.
Yeah, and he is. So
okay, and now you have to have your 5th wild choice for Cleveland.
Yeah, the last spot's where it gets interesting. And for me, the pretty clear one is Jalen Walker because he's been the guy that.
Just got taken in front of you.
Oh,
too.
he went first. Of course he did.
Well, look at that.
That's good luck. We could get really wild and go Shamar Stewart. Get a little Trevon Walker action. We're just a guy that's a phenomenal athlete, and the NFL just falls in love with the traits.
Hey,
I could also
what ends up happening is that like the fifth guy that we each pick is going to be moving up the board a little bit. And Travis, this one's going to be you. So what do you think Cleveland's doing it to?
I'm sorry. Is it my turn, you said?
Yep.
Okay. So obviously we're going to get Cam Ward here again. I still think, like Drew is saying, that Travis Hunter is, to me, kind of the guy that should be the pick, and I think will be the pick at this point if I had to guess. I think, like you said, Drew, Sanders is still going to be a guy that is in contention for this, I think, up to the end. I think it's going to come down to what the coaching staff wants to do versus what the owner wants to do versus what the that combination of people are going to have to make that decision.
Yep.
So yeah, I would, again, those two are where you start, the Colorado guys. And then for me, I think after that, I am going to go Cam Ward first here instead of Carter. I think that if for some reason the Titans pass on him, Ward would be the easy pick for them. I think it fits kind of what they would need as that big time pocket passer type as well. Carter goes, that's the one thing I would say. I think I'm not going to go. I could go like a Jalen Walker. I could do something like that. Ashton Genty would obviously be great because of the lack of running back talent there. I think I'm going to go Mason Graham. It's never really talked about because he's not going to be the pick there, but they don't have a lot in the interior defensive line right now. So that could be a good fit for them. And then if he's here the second time around, here I'll go Genty. I think at that point, with who I have to pick from, he's the best player. So you take the best player in that situation. So we'll see how – I'm wondering how the Mason Graham pick kind of looks here because, okay, I'll take all A's at least. Pretty happy with that.
Yeah, so for the beginning, I think we're gonna be in A territory. I think one of the guys I took had a B, but then when you took him, he got an A.
Right.
So
it moves him up. There you go.
Okay, so we're gonna do first round challenge for the Giants.
This is gonna be more interesting.
Again, and each of us is gonna get a turn, so that way we don't have to sit here and fight over different players. And okay, so Bill says Carter's not on the radar. Okay. Cool. Thanks, Bill.
I do agree with that, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So for the Giants, I definitely think Travis Hunter, if he's there, would be the pick.
Especially if the two quarterbacks go.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So now you have Sanders is there, Carter's there.
But I don't think the Giants go Sanders even if he's there. I'm actually skipping Sanders.
I could see that too. Yeah.
The coach is on the hot seat, and I think the owner told them you're not going to be allowed to draft a quarterback.
That would be really wild if they're like, too bad you're not going to be taking one. Yeah.
And then for the Giants,
now you have Cam Ward sitting there, which is
so if Cam Ward's there, the Giants would definitely do that.
Yeah, because that's a Dable quarterback too. The big arm, the ability to outside the pocket.
Okay, and then I'm going to go Will Campbell.
Okay. They still need offensive line for sure.
Yeah. It's, again, like this top three is kind of hard because we all know it's going to be the same like group of three players. But, I mean, the Giants, there's so many ways they could go,
And I'm going to go Josh Simmons.
Ooh, okay. Move Mo to right tackle.
You see, but that's why we each get to do these because I at least got one ooh out of five. I got one out of five.
There you go.
And my Josh Simmons pick was a C.
Yeah, they're gonna ding you, but I get it though with the offensive line issues there. So.
Okay, so Shane, we'll put you on the spot.
Okay.
5 good ideas for the New York football.
All right, so let's see if we get the quarterbacks to go first here, like you had. I'm curious.
So generally speaking, unless other people are doing mock drafts, you should see the same first round picks And the only thing that's going to change is that if we put somebody higher than Hunter.
Right. And I do think, again, Hunter is the obvious pick here to start because he's going to be the pick most likely if he's there. Yeah, we'll see if he is, but feels very likely that that's the case. Again, I kind of agree with you. I don't think it's going to be Shedeur. I would actually go Mason Graham here as the second pick to pair with Lawrence in the middle. That'd be very difficult for any team to deal with.
Yeah, that's a nasty.
And I love Carter, and we'll see what happens here if he's here. As much as I obviously you have Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau is fine. I'm not passing on Carter here if you have the opportunity to add that to your edge rush. Like Thibodeau, I could take him or leave him at this point. So for me, not very hard here. Let's see what we have. It's the fourth time around here. Yeah, Cam Ward. I think you take Ward at this point as quarterback, kind of like you did with your third pick there. He would be the one that they would take. And I think the only way that's going to happen, obviously, if they can convince the Titans to trade up, I don't see that happening. So, and then I think I'll finish out here. Let's go Campbell again for the offensive line help. I think that just plugs whatever hole basically they decide they have. I think he can play almost any spot for them. So,
yeah, and I'm sure we'll end up with the same like board, Sanders, Carter, on my end too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then Drew, you've got your best five for the Giants.
All right, let's see what you got.
So if we end up changing the board, Shane,
Mm-hmm.
like we get different players in different order, whenever somebody comes in and uses the simulator, they're using whatever our modification was.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'll go ahead and go Carter first just because I believe that's what the pick is going to be because I don't think Travis is going to be there.
I get that. Yeah, I think he would be the pick.
Go in order of realism.
Him or Graham, probably Carter.
And then here it's going to be Ward. Like if he's on the board, that's just an auto pick.
Yeah.
Again, he won't be, but just for the sake of the exercise.
When you do these inside the top five, it's weird because it has to give each time we do it, the first overall pick changes.
Right. So something's always going to be
like here it'd be Travis.
Yep.
And
Okay, so
and the last two
were Carter, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter. Drew, what are you thinking now for the New York Football Giants?
Here, I'll go Armand Mimbo. If you want to get like, I think he's probably the only tackle that is worthy of going in the top five. Again, just based off film grade,
pure tackle, especially.
But there's injury concerns with Simmons. There's character concerns with Simmons. He's got a lot of off the field stuff going on. Based on tape, just purely tape, I like Simmons a little bit better. But I think Mimbo is going to be the only guy that actually goes this high. So if they need that offensive line help, I think he's an offensive tackle absolutely worth taking in this range. And with him gone as well, I'll go Jalen Walker here too because I see Jalen Walker as a pure edge. Yep. I think he's a top.
He's already off the board.
Every time I want to take
they
Jalen
steal
Walker,
you. They steal him from you every time.
I keep wanting to dote on Jalen Walker and they keep taking him from me.
Here's a hint: don't wait until the fifth one to take Walker.
That's a good idea.
You got to reach essentially for the sake of it.
I feel like I can't pass on Mason Graham at this point because he's just like the only other like near blue chip talent right here. So I guess Jalen Walker first.
So for anybody watching, if you're trying to figure out the algorithm, the Titans, the first time take the number one player on their board. The second time they take the number two. Third time they take the number three. Fourth time take the number four. Fifth time take the number five. So Jalen Walker is probably the fifth player on the Titans board.
Seems like
we're not going to be able to take it.
Right.
Unless it's you want to beat him. You want to beat him to the punch. Yeah.
Yep. So you have to play the algorithm a little bit. Mm-hmm. The basic premise of that algorithm is to make sure the best players go early.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. So if the board falls this way, to me, this is the conundrum.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take the higher position of need over Abdul Carter?
Right.
And you can see Abdul Carter is the number one player on the Patriots board.
Mm-hmm.
So he gets mocked here often because he's not even higher than Travis Hunter, who's probably number two.
Makes sense.
So I go Abdul Carter.
So now he goes
Okay.
2 in this. So yeah.
Okay. So in this situation, I'm going to say Membu.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This time I should have Travis Hunter.
There you go.
And those are like the 3 no-brainers. This is where it kind of gets more interesting.
Okay. I'm going to go Josh Simmons.
Okay.
And part of that was he was under Mason Graham. And I don't think Mason Graham would be the pick. So I'm purposely picking players that are ranked higher than Mason Graham. So 2 down here and then Genty.
Okay.
So my 5 were Carter, Membu, Hunter, Simmons, Genty.
All right.
And I got 3 A+.
There you go.
So Drew will put you up for New England.
All right. I think assuming the board falls the same way in the top 3, I will start off with Carter because I think Carter is, again, my number 1 player in this class. He's a very, very Vrabel type edge rusher. He's got that like alpha dog mentality. He's gonna, just come in and take over the room, whatever defense he's in. Vrabel would love to get that guy to start off his defense up in New England.
I agree.
And I think Membo is the other like kind of auto pick. Like if the top 3 falls how I imagine it will, and Hunter and Carter are both gone, I think Membo is kind of the no-brainer there to just start off that really, really bad offensive line, get some protection for Drake May in there, and then Travis Hunter is going to be the guy, obviously, if he falls as well. And then past that is where, like I said, we kind of get a little bit more nuance here because that's the main 3 guys gone. I don't have him nearly as high on my board, but Will Campbell has been talked about a lot at this spot too. So I'll go ahead and put that in there just because he's a possibility. I think another Vrabel type guy, but I think taking who I see as a guard at 4th overall would be a pretty big lapse in value in my opinion.
Right.
I think here, like, I got to go Josh Simmons as well. Like, even with, because I think he's ahead of the injury concerns. He's ahead of the knee recovery schedule, from what I know, and I don't think the character concerns are quite bad enough for me to go away on somebody whose film I love as much as I love Simmons.
All right, there you go.
So Shane, have you done the Patriots, or you're up for the Patriots now?
No, I haven't done them yet, so I'm up here.
Okay. And I was losing track of who was doing who, so
you're good. No.
I'm getting old, I guess.
Yeah, this will be starting off the same way. So I think I also will be going Abdul Carter here. Again, this is the easy pick if he makes it to 4. I think he's the one that could theoretically make it to 4 of all of them. I don't think Hunter makes it past the Giants if he does get to them, and just in general. I think for me here, I actually would love to see Mason Graham with them. I think that, especially with Barmore dealing with his stuff, like, he's supposed to be back, but blood clots are no joke. Like, that's a scary thing. Like, hopefully he can be back, but he would slot in there. Travis Hunter, obviously easy pick here at this point, so we can get him off the board here. And then we'll see what we get here. Yeah, I would go, it should be Membu here this time then. And then we'll see what's around the corner here.
So Dana, my comment on Simmons is that he is a franchise left tackle, and I'm not worried about somebody that's going to be starting for me week 1. Yeah. I would be more concerned with having a left tackle on my team for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yep. Fair enough. Yeah. And Simmons would be my pick in this situation too, to finish it out. If he's healthy, I like Membu a lot, so I don't want to guarantee that I would have Simmons ahead of him, but I think that a fully healthy season from Simmons, he's probably talked about in this range. It's like a top
100%
top 5 pick.
You got 4 A+ there.
Yeah, take that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the last one this one's the easy one because we're within the first 5 and we've got to do 5 picks, right? Mm-hmm. So we will each get a chance at Jacksonville.
Jacksonville's interesting. They're an interesting one.
They're the
So
first kind of wild card spot.
I think so, especially truly a wild card spot. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
okay, so I am doing Jalen Walker.
Okay.
Now, little trick, because I want to get Jalen Walker to the top. I am not picking Mason Graham.
Okay.
So even though Mason Graham is here,
Mhm.
my goal is to get Mason Graham to move down because Jalen Walker is going to move up.
Mhm.
So I am going to purposely pick players that are under Mason Graham.
Mm,
So
okay.
Will Johnson's a possibility. I agree
think-
Mason
yeah.
Graham's a possibility, but I want to see Jalen Walker higher than he is.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. All right.
Okay. So I'm not picking either of the two guys at the top.
Okay.
I think Will Campbell is an option.
Okay.
And then that would also imply that Josh Simmons should be an option.
Theoretically, yeah.
And then so should Membu.
Yeah, I mean they got a pretty big hole opposite of Anton Harrison on that offensive line.
Yep.
They probably need to add at least one tackle in this class. I don't think they do it this high, but it's definitely something they need. To add.
It's weird with Little because they paid him, but it's a different front office now in charge of
Yeah.
them, so it doesn't mean he's going to be the pick necessarily.
Yep.
Okay.
So I went with 3 different offensive linemen, Will Johnson and Jalen Walker.
All right.
Okay. And I did manage to get 1B, but no A pluses. But it's going to be difficult to get A pluses if we want to get Jalen Walker to the top for Jacksonville. Shane, you are up for Jackson.
All right. Let's see what we get here. So for me, I'm not now. Granted, I know we're playing the game, but like for me, I'm not a big Jalen Walker guy. I would be taking Mason Graham here personally.
No worries.
I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, and that's
Walker
why
just
you
trust
us
me.
get to turn. That
Exactly,
way you can
yeah.
manipulate the board after I did.
Mhm, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, Graham, I'm also not the biggest Mason Graham fan to be honest with you in terms of like where he's consensus, but still I'm gonna take him over them. For me here, it would be Carter. It's yeah, for sure. I know he's here for obviously because of the way this works, but still, man, that'd be a dream for Jack. I mean, those edge rushers all in the same. Like you
I
move
mean,
that all
I don't
over the
think
place.
it's out of the question at all. If you have like if it goes Ward, Ward, Travis, and well, I guess you'd need
Hunter
Ward, Shedeur,
Membu.
Travis, yeah.
Mhm.
And then Membo or Campbell goes at 4. I mean,
I think it's theoretically possible. Yeah.
yeah.
I
If he
think
makes it past 3,
yeah.
he's probably there.
I would say for me, yeah, Will Johnson would be then the pick here. I think that if he didn't have some of the injury stuff this past year, and some people don't care for his speed, I think he's plenty fast enough for the way that he plays. But I think he could have been in contention for this pick. He probably won't be in the actual draft. I mean, Travis Hunterson there. Yeah, I'll go ahead and
Yep.
take Travis there. Yeah.
So when you're picking in the top 5,
Yep.
you should have a chance to draft every single one of the players that's in the top 5.
Exactly.
At least once.
At least once.
So-
Yeah. And then I think I'll finish things out here. Give me Ted, honestly. He is, I think, a dark horse for this pick because I know they have Brian Thomas Jr. They paid a little bit of money to Diami Brown, but him and Brian Thomas Jr. would be freakish duo. So
Look at that. You got the first 5A plus of the podcast.
there we go.
Nope,
Boom.
there we go.
Happy with that.
Okay. And Drew, you're up for Jacksonville now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you will be able to take Jalen Walker no matter
Finally,
what. Now.
yes, I'm finally
You will
going to talk about
absolutely
him.
be able to take him at some point. So you can't. They can't deny.
And
it
I'm
this
going to
time.
do it. I'm going to
Yeah.
do it first this time, so I don't.
Yeah.
I don't accidentally lose out on him. So yeah, I'm going to take Jalen Walker first. Walker, he's been a guy that's gotten a ton of like top 5,
Yes.
top 6 hype recently.
Mhm.
I know a lot of people are scared of the size, scared of the measurements, and I fully understand that. But for me, like his tape at edge, I disregard the 31-inch arms. I would let him play edge for my team tomorrow. I think he is so violent and explosive. He's I think he's 6th on my big board right now, so I would take him in this range, no problem.
Fair enough.
Although I do think Mason Graham is still going to be the pick. I think Mason Graham's been my choice for them throughout this entire cycle. Of everybody else, that's been the boring pick. So I'm going to go with Mason Graham here. Just because I think they desperately need interior defensive line help. Mason Graham is.
I hear a lot of people disagree with that sometimes. I'm like, what do you?
I mean, like,
I don't know
Is
what.
it the corpse of Eric Armstead that's going to help you? in
Yeah,
there?
like
I
Mason
don't-
Smith is
Yeah.
fun for like the last 2 weeks of the year, but that was about it.
So the Mason Graham, it just feels like the easiest fit of this draft. I'm going to go with Carter here too, because again, my number one player. I think you put him opposite of Trevon Walker, who they just kept around. That's a dangerous edge duo. And here I assume Hunter is going to fall. Yep, and there's Travis. That's the easy
there
pick.
you go.
Yeah,
and then
some of these
here-
are gimmies.
Yes,
They are. Yep.
they
You get
absolutely
it.
are.
In the top 5, you get a couple of gimmies.
Absolutely, yeah, which is helpful.
And like here is probably Mimbo for me.
Okay,
Because I think, like we said, that tackle situation
Yeah.
opposite of Anton Harrison's kind of questionable. And I think Mimbo is the guy that deserves to get mentioned in here.
there you go.
Okay, so
Pretty
the
good one.
next team.
And this is where
up-
things get a little bit more interesting.
Yep,
This is where it gets fun.
the Raiders.
Ooh, yeah.
And I'm sure we're going to have different interpretations of the Raiders. So the one player you will not see me pick is Ashton Genty.
Fair enough.
I don't think you should take a running back in the top 10. So even though I did that for a couple of teams up above, I was doing that more for the point of the exercise.
Yes. Yeah.
So for me, if I'm talking about who is the best player available if the board falls this way, it's Shamar Stewart. I think out of
Ooh.
all the players that were available, Shamar Stewart could have the best career. So I was going to go Shamar Stewart. If Shedeur is there, I think the Raiders would pick him.
I agree with that.
I mean, if any franchise is not going to learn from Tyree Wilson, it's got to be the Raiders, right? They're going to be the one to do it again.
Oh boy.
Okay. And then if Mason Graham is there, I would think that that's a pick for the Raiders. Okay. So the Raiders, okay, if Cam Ward's there,
Of
that's
course.
the pick.
Yeah.
Of course.
Okay, so I got a couple of gimmies. There's one more that I want to give a shout out to that he could go this high,
Okay.
and people aren't talking about it. So I'm skipping Travis Hunter because I want to talk about Jahdae Barron. going in the 10th pick.
Okay.
That's an interesting one. And that's one I've heard a couple times, actually.
I have two. Yeah.
See, and that's why we're doing the exercise.
Yes.
Is to start talking about, okay, who could go? That's the point. So, yeah, sometimes we want our A pluses, but I want to go for the wow factor and start talking about some of the guys that could go in the top 8 that maybe
not
we're not
expecting.
talking enough
Yeah.
about.
Exactly. Which yeah, for sure. Barron's one of those guys. I think his range probably starts at 7 with the Jets. I could see them wanting to add a player like him with Aaron Glenn there being the head coach. I'm sure he'd really appreciate the way that Barron plays, especially.
Mhm.
Am I up here this time?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll do
Okay,
Shane
sure.
and then
Cool.
Drew can follow up.
Yeah. So for me, I'm gonna do the thing that everyone wants to do. I am gonna take Ashton Genty, and I tend to agree with the idea of not taking running back this high, unless you happen to be having a high pick because of another reason than being bad, right? But he's a great player. I think it would make a lot of sense with the offense the way they're trying to build it. Sanders here would be my second pick again. I think if he does make it to 6, which is certainly not impossible, he's taking visits with teams like, hey, my Steelers are visiting with them this week. Like, hey, he could fall pretty far potentially.
Mhm.
I think after him, I would go here. Graham would definitely be a really good complement with Wilkins in the middle of that defense, especially with the edge rush. They brought Kuntz back to pair with Crosby, so that'd be a really good defensive line. Let's see what we get here on the 4th turn. Yeah, again, Cam Ward. If he's going to be here, that's the gimme for sure.
He's the auto pick.
It's the auto pick at 6 here. And then this last one is where it's going to be interesting for me. Because I think I'm definitely going to go with, again, Travis is there, Carter's there. For the fun of it, I'm not going to do that. I think if you could scroll down a little bit, Will Johnson would be a really good fit, I think, for the Raiders because they do not have that true number 1 corner type, and he's a playmaker. Like they need that on the defense. That defense probably isn't going to be very good, regardless, but at least you can have some more playmaking if you had him. So.
See, and that's why we're doing this, Andy, is to get different people's ideas as to what we do or what.
The Raiders do need linebacker help, and so
here's my guy, Andy.
Yeah,
me and Andy are always on the same wavelength. That's exactly what I was going to start up with was Jalen Walker. I think that, again, I'm this high on this guy. I think
Yeah.
the Raiders, kind of the silver lining of having a roster be this bare bones is you can just kind of start wherever.
Especially defensively. Yeah.
I mean, they have a
especially
completely blank slate on the defensive side of the ball. So I'm going to start out with Jalen Walker. That'd probably be my pick if I was the Raiders GM. I will probably lead with Ashton Genty again because I agree with everything you just said, Shane. Where
yeah,
I agree with the sentiment. I would never take a running back this high, even though Ashton Genty is the highest running back prospect I've ever graded personally. He's that
he would be
high for
just
me.
behind Bijan since I've been doing it, but close.
Yeah.
So,
But it's just
similar.
I even with that being the best running back I've ever watched, he's just that, or best running back prospect I should say. Just not a guy that I'm not going to take somebody in the top 10. And obviously again, Cam Ward's the free slot right here. Just gotta take that every time. And I think, you stole the Will Johnson bomb from me. I'm gonna keep that going too. I think that's a real sleeper. And again, I think the league generally is a lot lower on Will Johnson than most of us are in the draft media.
Yeah,
but I think the Raiders are the one team that could really just shock everybody and go for that. The injury concerns are there. The top end athleticism concerns are there. But I think they're a team that could be looking at that. And I'm gonna go Armand Mimbo for the last pick here because I think that's another team that has kind of a blank slate at the offensive line. You can just kind of start wherever
I think
you want.
he could definitely fit in at guard for them. Even if they like DJ Glaze enough at right tackle, they could keep him there, move him, and that would definitely make a lot of sense too. So,
okay, so we got the New York Jets.
This is a fun one.
Interesting.
So, and I'm gonna try to go 5 unconventional picks.
Okay, that should be. We can
I'm going to set you guys up because I don't know what you guys are going to do after me. But most commonly mocked players are at the top.
Yep.
So we're definitely going to start talking about Jahdae Barron.
Yeah, for sure.
This podcast is cruising because we said we were going to do top 8, and we're 30 minutes in, and we're almost finished.
You're doing good. Yeah.
Okay. Other offensive tackles. So Simmons at 6. Okay, so I'm going to go Will Campbell. Doesn't look like that's been done very much.
Doesn't look like it, yeah. Again, he's the guy I think that teams take, especially if it's a little bit down the board of do you need an offensive lineman, period? Do you just need somebody who can play? And he'll be able to do that, whether it's whatever tackle or guard. So then we got Jalen Walker.
I will do Jalen Walker. Okay.
That's interesting.
And I'm going to go Malachi Starks.
Okay.
Wow. That's a new one.
Right. That's what I mean. Realistically, any of these guys a huge reach between Barron, Campbell, Walker, and Starks for you guys?
I mean, Starks is just because of the position, but
Aaron
Glenn would be the one who would want to take a guy like Malachi Starks.
Yeah.
It's not that far fetched, I don't think.
And then okay, if Cam Ward falls, he should not be that far.
That's true. Yeah. Justin Fields, 2 years. That could be a 1 year pretty easily. We can.
So you can see no ways on that one,
right? Yeah, but we're talking about players that way.
So it's okay. It's okay to be a little bit eccentric because we have 3 people doing this. Drew, you want to take your stab here?
Absolutely. This is the one I'm most excited for because I've been on my buddy Paul's show for the draft recently on Mondays. He was a big Jets podcaster and radio guy. We've talked a lot about this pick. There's a lot of different ways they could go. Starting off, I'm gonna go. Mo didn't make it, did he? I actually am not going to go Jalen Walker. As much as I do love him, I don't love that fit in New York.
Okay.
I think they kind of already have their twitchy, fast guy in Will McDonald.
True.
I'm going to go Shamar Stewart as my first pick. I think they can still use stuff in that edge room. The like I said, the athletic traits. I know the lack of production can be scary for some people, but I'm extremely high on Shamar Stewart. The traits, the upside is just that great for me. And second here, I'm going to go Mimbo because I think that's been my number 1 pick for them for a while now. They have a hole at right tackle. You get your franchise tackle duo between him and Olu from last year. And I assume, Mason Graham will be here. I think Mason Graham is the home run pick for them, best case. I don't think it's impossible that he falls this far. But they need somebody next to Quinnen Williams. Mason Graham will be a home run. And I'm going to go my first big shock of this podcast. I'm going to go Colston Loveland here.
Ooh, okay. ahead of Tyler.
I know
Warren?
people
You're really
really
high on Loveland.
people really talk about Warren here. I think now, if I had to say what I think is going to happen in real life, I think this pick is probably Warren.
I think so
2.5 weeks from now.
Yeah.
But I've been somebody that's been kind of on a tirade about Loveland over Warren for a while now, especially in that offense. I like that a lot better. I'm going to go Shadur here, just based off the fact that I think he's the one that actually has a chance of being here compared to Cam Ward.
It's fair.
Just for realism's sake. I know Woody Johnson loves Shadur Sanders, apparently. So I don't know if they take that shot with how many holes they have in just signing Fields, but
Okay. And now, Shane, you're up for the Jets.
All right. Let's see what we can do here. Now, I know it's chalk, but I do think I'm going to kick things off with Tyler Warren here. He is my top tight end over Loveland. It's mostly because I think Loveland, it's not that he isn't a tight end, it's that he's closer to a big body slot receiver than he is a tight end. And I think that's totally fine in the NFL nowadays. But Warren is just a different type of player than you normally get at the tight end position. I think he's very special in that regard. I would go Membu here as well. I think if it's not Warren, I think it will be Membu if he's there. Perfect compliment to Fashanu last year. Obviously, you get a right tackle. You can slot in right away. You lose Morgan Moses. Makes too much sense for me. I think Graham is there. I'm going to go a little bit interesting here because they lost DJ Reed. Give me Will Johnson here as a pick here. I think realistically you can bring him in. I know they paid what's his name from the Ravens, but I don't really care for him very much. If I was still looking at the secondary, I'd be trying to add guys there with Aaron Glenn, and then I would go probably Mason Graham here in this situation. Travis Hunter's there, but he's not me. let's be honest about it.
But keeping in mind that if somebody's there, the way to think about this is that if somebody trades up and takes Warren, somebody trades up and takes Membu, and somebody trades up and takes Will Johnson, hey, that meant that Travis Hunter must be
for sure
able to drop, right?
For sure.
That's how that logic
will work out in this case. I do think, that's obviously in this case, but Mason Graham would be fun next to Quinn Williams. They need somebody who can play run defense next to him. I mean, my goodness, their run defense was horrendous last year.
Thankfully, they signed some big body guys in free agency.
They did, but you want to add more.
You got to fully rebuild that interior.
And then this is where I'll take advantage of the way that this exercise works. Give me Abdul Carter in this edge room, man. He can be just whatever you want him to be. You line him up everywhere with the way their edge group is. Like McDonald is obviously that speed threat, but Carter's even better than that. So
Carter is the interesting one too, because I think with this injury history, there's a chance he really could slide there.
There's
a chance Carter could slide into the late top 10.
I have a feeling that unless he truly got flagged, teams are going to be like, "No, we're not worried about it."
That's what should happen, in my opinion. But
but teams,
I don't ever want to give.
They are very risk averse. Yeah, they're very risk averse in general. But the Panthers should be interesting too.
Okay, so and again, I'm going to see if I can get Walker to be higher than Stewart.
Yep.
So I'm going to pay attention to see if Stewart ever falls to 5.
Gotcha.
So you will not see me pick Stewart, even though I think Stewart is a very likely pick, just because I want to demonstrate how portions of the simulator work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go Walker. Another player that I like here is going to be Jahdae Barron.
Mm-hmm. Still need a lot of secondary help. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I mean, that whole defense needs to get completely.
Yeah, I mean, J.C. Horn is great and everything, and it's good that he got paid, but he could always miss 10 of the games this year, so you need somebody else there.
Right. So I'm going to go Malachi Starks.
Okay. Him and Merrick would be fun, for sure. As a duo now.
Oh, yeah, I forget Trevon Merrick signed there.
$20 million a year, good for him.
I mean, dude, there were some crazy contracts.
Yeah, it's
mid-level free agency guys.
It's free agency, man, so that's what happens. We got here.
They just signed a defensive tackle, didn't they?
They signed a couple.
Yeah. So I was thinking Walter Nolan, but that's probably not going to be right. So I'm going to give a shout out to Bill in the chat because he has Nick Scourton, I think I believe he's in the top 10 as number 2 overall edge.
I think he's a top 5 player for Bill.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And then another player. Let me look at the edge list.
Wow, Landon Jackson is really high on people's boards in
I
here.
see that.
Did he
yeah.
get picked that
Well,
high?
that would imply that somebody's picked him a lot for Carolina,
Mhm.
either in
Wow.
round 2 or round 1.
Right.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Who has Raku's down the board? That's interesting. James
Yeah.
Pierce too. I
I'm
mean,
gonna
that's
go Izzy
probably
Raku.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
Izaraku was going to be my like sleeper surprise pick, and I just got that ripped away too. That's great.
Well, there you go.
Well, no, but that's kind of the idea. Now, Drew, if you pick Izaraku, he's going to move up even higher. There was
Yeah.
a reason I did what I did.
Hmm.
Okay, so Shane, you want to go ahead and take your stab at the Panthers?
Sure, let's go for it.
And if people haven't caught on, if you need a player to get to the top, always skip picking the player at the top. So notice by me skipping Stewart, I got Walker at 4.
Yep. There you go. Boom.
There was a method to my madness. That was how I
Yeah.
did that.
There you go. So I think for my first pick here, I'm gonna go Jade Barron actually here at 8. I think he fits really well with what they need, because if you need him to play a little bit of safety, he can do that. If you need him to play slot corner, he can do that. If you're playing off coverage as a secondary, as a starting outside corner, he can do that for you. So a little bit different things there. I think here they are one of those teams that, even though they desperately need to hit on something, Shamar Stewart playing with Jadeveon Clowney, who's kind of that same type of player coming out, where big time athlete, had more production than Stewart, but he still was more of an athlete than anything else. He might be able to be the guy that can teach him how to be more productive as that bigger bodied, like powerful edge. I think with this pick, man, I know they've signed defensive tackles, but Graham being there is interesting. Yeah, again, they added guys, but none of them are like true difference makers
Yeah.
next to
You need somebody
Derek
like this.
Brown. Like, I think he could certainly, if he falls that far, which again, I would have him a little bit later, so maybe that will happen. Let's go Jalen Walker here. I'll get him off the board. I think this is a very realistic, like, actual pick for them at 8 is Walker if he makes it there. Again, I'm a little bit lower on him mostly because I want to love him more than I do, but like, there's just not a lot of like good polished tape from him because of the way they used him. It's just kind of a complete crapshoot there. And then I think I would go lastly here. This is one I never hear talked about. And I get it because they have a couple guys at this position. They just drafted one last year. Tyler Warren would be very fun as like a run after catch threat in this offense. Just dump it off to him, give Bryce Young really easy looks. Like, that would be a lot of fun, I think, for me too, in that offense. So, all right,
Okay.
pretty happy with that.
So, Drew, have you already done the Panthers, or
I have not.
you have not? Okay.
See what you can do here.
See if I can get this entire thing front 7. It's kind of my plan going
Oh,
on.
there you go. That'll be. I mean, not a bad idea if you're the Panthers at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they need it down there. Like that.
they do. Yeah.
Is weak. It's going to be Jalen Walker first for me. I think this is the pick that happens. They've been like basically just shining a beacon saying we are taking Jalen Walker. Now, unless somebody trades up and jumps in front of him, I don't see a way he doesn't fall to 8. I'll also go Shamar Stewart because I think that's a great pick. I don't know that it's quite as realistic now that they've kind of put their chips behind Jalen Walker, but I think the upside in the top 10 right there, he's a great run defender. He would immediately add some juice to that front 7. I'll go Michael Williams next too, because I think if the size scares him away from Jalen Walker, the production scares him away from Shamar. I know they've been very involved with the other Georgia edge as well, so Michael Williams could very much be on the board. I wouldn't take him that high. I'm a lot lower on him personally, but I think they're in on him. I'll go Mason Graham as well, because like I said, again, if he falls here, they've signed guys, but you need like the other X factor. You don't know how much longer Derek Brown's going to be around, and Mason Graham is going to be a player for a very long time in that defense. And rounding it out here, I'll go Ezraku. I know we already talked about that. I was going to be my splash pick, but since he's already already gone. I'll add in a second one, see if we can get him up the board a little bit. But Ezraku is just a guy that's flown way under the radar. He doesn't get talked about nearly enough. He's my
I do like
edge
him.
4, so I'm really high on Ezraku.
So we finished the 8 that we said we were going to do, and we did that. That was kind of impressive that we did. What was that? We did 7 teams times 3, so we just did 21 of those in 45 minutes. That
Pretty good time.
I told you
Pretty
at the
good time.
beginning of the podcast, like these will be quick. So Shane, you want to take a moment, introduce yourself, let everybody know how they can find you. It is your first time on our channel.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my name is Shane Kubis. I've been doing NFL/NFL draft/sports content in some form or fashion for about 5 years in different ways. Currently, I am a contributor to the Still Curtain fan-sided Steelers site. I also help edit and do things like that for the site as well. I am the co-host of the podcast of the same name on YouTube. You can check that out. Just Still, Still Curtain. Of course, couldn't get Still Curtain. That was already taken years ago, probably. But so you can check us out there. And I also, on my own, with some friends of mine, I have a channel called the Degenerate Sports Network. We do a betting show live every Wednesday and also a draft show every Monday night. So that's the main reason that I'm doing this tonight. It's been a lot of fun doing the draft content this year, especially.
Is your draft show year round?
It's going to be. It started off last year when we first started doing it. This year is the first year that we're doing it on a separate YouTube channel that I created. That will be year round. So yeah, as soon as the draft's over, I'm going to wait till the draft's over to start doing this. But we're getting right into summer scouting at that point, like you were saying, Joe.
Awesome. Drew.
Yeah, my name's Drew. You can find pretty much everything I do at Iron City Film on Twitter or X. That's where I get all my cutouts, the film, the ball talk, 24/7 over there. I also do some draft and Titans writing for StadiumRep.com. You can find my articles over there. I run the NFL Draft channel for Fantasy Trading Room. It's called NFL Trading Room. That's just started up. So you can find some year-round draft content on that. I'm hoping to have my summer scouting stuff up there pretty soon once I get into that in May. And you can find me and my buddy Bill Sparks over here doing the first shift on the Epic Mock coming Thursday. That is going to be so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Jim has put in so much work to get this awesome event going. It's going to be the coolest event of the entire draft cycle. Everybody should be here. I'm going to be here making the first pick live on the podcast. So excited. We have so many cool people in this event. We're going to be individually streaming each war room. Make sure to get as many people as you can in here. It's going to be such a fun event. I can't wait for it.
Cool. And then every once in a while, you're also on a Jets podcast early Monday morning.
That's true.
Right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I am. I'm
mentioned
glad
earlier.
you remember that because I didn't. I went down the list and just completely skipped the biggest one. Yes, I am also on the Boy Green Daily Jets podcast as a draft analyst every Monday morning. I will be up until about a week after the draft. I'll be leading up to it and recapping the Jets draft once that happens. That's always so much fun. Be sure to tune into those early Monday mornings as well.
Yeah, Paul came on one of our podcasts on Saturday morning. So he is I like working with podcasters that have a sense of humor, and Paul has a really quick wit, right? And the only person that comes close to Paul that I podcast with that is a quick wit is Jake. And Jake stopped by earlier, and he'll be with
Love Jake.
you on the Titans War Room for the Epic Mock.
He'll be with me. Yep.
So you can follow the channel at NFL Draft Fanatic. No, I am Fanatic. We have daily draft content. So this is our second podcast of the day. Now, you didn't see the one at 8:30 because we only recorded it. We're not playing it until after the Epic Mock. But the 8:30 podcast was the Bills War Room setting up the draft board.
Oh, wow.
That's a cool idea.
That is really
We
cool.
are going to podcast what the board was after the mock, and you'll be able to see all the scenarios we were playing out.
Cool.
And we'll see which one of those plays out in the Epic Mock. So, but Epic Mock 25, as Drew alluded to, Shane will be drafting in it. Drew will be. I will be. Bill Sparks will be. Jake Robertson will be. It is a 32-person, 7-round mock. We will be podcasting for 18 straight hours, talking about 257 players. There are not a lot of podcasters that can talk about 257 players. We are very, very blessed at the Draft Professor to have people like Drew and Bill Sparks and Will and Anthony Russo and Randall and Greg, who are going to be able to talk about every single player that is drafted in the event. Like, we know their boards are robust enough that they're going to be able to talk about those players. So I'm very humbled that you guys are involved with the station. So thank you. You guys want to go through 9 through 12, but as opposed to each of us doing our own, we kind of do them together?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, Saints are a fun one because the Saints might be the most like.
Oh man, yeah, Saints, because they could draft for the here and now. They could draft for the future. This team, they can't decide what they want to be ever. So there could be a lot of different things here.
Okay, so the first one that I want to talk about is going to be Jahdae Barron.
Yep.
If we were mocking him earlier, we should definitely be mocking him to any team that needs a corner from this point forward.
For sure. Yeah.
Drew, what are you thinking?
Yeah. For me, this is probably like between that group of three right there, between Shamar Stewart, Will Campbell, and Tyler Warren. Again, for me, it's Shamar Stewart by a mile, but that's my personal board, not necessarily what the Saints would do. I know Tyler Warren's probably in play a lot if he makes it past the Jets. They need a tight end. He fits the mold they're looking for to get a guy that's kind of gadgety, flexible in there. Will Campbell, Louisiana kid, could stay in the state, play for them. A lot of ways they could go.
Shane, how about you? What's your choice?
I think in a similar vein, like you did with Jahdae Barron, I think Will Johnson makes a lot of sense here. He'd be a great complement opposite of McKinstry there. He's really the only guy they have at corner with Adebo out the door, so that would make a lot of sense for them. And they might not care as much about the injury thing. They're not necessarily trying to be great this year, so if you need some time, then take some time.
Okay. So I am going to be the one that says Emeka Egbuka could be the first wide receiver off the board in the top 10.
And I will jump on that train with you. From what I've heard, like the NFL is crazy high. Okay. He is aced the interview process. He's so cerebral. NFL teams are just – it's him, Jahdae Barron, and Jihad Campbell are the three that the NFL teams just cannot shut up about. Like, they are in love with those three guys.
Not surprised with Egbuka here. Yeah, not surprised.
Yep. And Shane, I'm glad I got an ooh out of you. For that ooh, I'll let you make the fifth pick.
All right, yeah. No, I like Egbuka a lot. That's really good. If he goes the first receiver, that would be awesome to see a guy like him go. I think if he were to make it here, they have Brzee, who I like as a pass rusher, but they have nobody on the interior that I care for other than him. Give me Mason Graham. Like he would just make so much sense with Brzee, especially gives Brzee more of a chance to be a true pass rusher, not have to worry about run defense as much. Makes a ton of sense for them, I think, in that situation.
Okay, next in the draft order is the Chicago Bears.
They're a lot of
Another
fun.
fun one.
Yeah.
Okay, so
this team might be the one where I make an exception about running back in the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, you see, I agree with you,
make a
Drew,
lot of
because they did the work to be allowed to take.
Yeah, like they have a
this
built
to
roster.
That's the thing. They did the work to allow themselves to do this. If they can or want to, I think it would work. I do. So
Shane, you want?
I would take Jency here because, again, they added the offensive lineman. They have a quarterback they hope can be the guy. Like, they did the work to be allowed to make this pick, and I think not feel too worried about doing it. So I will give them that ability to do so.
Drew, who's your next choice?
I just put out my my second first-round mock draft of this cycle earlier, and I made this pick for the Bears. I'm going to go Marion Hampton here, too. I think that if Genty's gone,
if Genty does go in the top 10,
and I imagine he will be with the Raiders,
possible,
I think Ben Johnson really, really wants a running back in there, some fresh legs. With how stacked this running back class is, I would not be shocked at all to see Hampton go top 10.
Fair enough.
Okay, I'm going to say Donovan Izuraku in the top 10.
I love it.
Wow.
I love it.
Him and Sweat would be very fun together, for sure. That'd be a very fun group.
It's an athletic as hell group, too. I mean,
yeah.
Those guys are quick.
Okay. So, Shane, if all three of these guys are off the board, who's their pick?
I think looking at who's here, man, again, like I don't see Graham falling here, but he'd make a lot of sense.
So let's go Graham. You would go Graham over Membu?
I think for them I would, because I like the offensive line is currently constructed. Jonah Jackson gives me a little bit of pause, but I think if he can be healthy, he's plenty good at guard. Membu would probably have to slide inside the guard to play early on, so I'll take Graham in that situation.
Okay, so Drew, if these four are off the board, Grammy, Zaraku, Hampton, Genty, what do you think they're going to do?
I think it's another team that looks at Shamar. I think that I know like he started dropping recently again because we've been talking about it for so long, but I think the NFL is just like they've showed time and time again they only care about athletic traits when it comes down to it.
Very
so for a guy like that, I just have a hard time seeing him slipping too far.
Okay, and now we are up for the 49ers.
Ooh, Niners are fun. This is like, out of all the Johnny Barons we've mocked so far, this is probably the earliest that I think he will go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he makes a ton of sense as well, for sure.
Okay, so we'll give Jade Barron.
Mm-hmm.
We'll call that one Drew's pick.
Okay.
There we go. I'll give that.
I'm going to go. I'm going to go Derek Harmon.
That was going to, you took
my
it,
next
Jim.
pick.
Good pick there.
Yep.
Harmon is my number one interior defensive lineman because of the potential I see with him.
I love it.
See, Graham, better day one player to me. Harmon, more pass rush potential for me, bigger player. Just love that combination with him.
Yep. Harmon's
so
my
again,
two.
Yeah.
So Shane, if Harmon and Barron are off the board, what do you think the 49ers do?
I'm taking Josh Simmons here. They desperately need a plan for one, whenever Trent Williams eventually does retire, and two, just anyone to play offensive line for this team because there isn't really anyone to play offensive line for this team.
Okay. So Drew, now it's your turn again.
Mm-hmm. Is Will Campbell on the board? I forget which position he is on here. He's a guard or tackle. I think Will Campbell is a really strong consideration for them if he falls to 11.
Can play so many spots.
Yeah, like you said, they need everywhere on the offensive line. I think Shanahan would be a guy that can really plug and play him in a couple of different
with his athleticism in the zone run game for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
And then I'm going Izaraku.
Okay.
There we go.
They need.
You might notice a theme.
Hey, he's a good player. They need defensive line, edge, at the whole 9 yards. So yeah.
The Harmon pick is probably my favorite out of that one.
Oh, I love. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his.
I love that fit. Harmon, he's so underrated. I don't know how he stayed so underrated throughout this whole process, but
1 year of production, he dropped weight to play at Oregon. Like I think he's just like he's starting that process of becoming a great player. I think people were a little late, but are going to be late on it by the time we get to that point. So
yep.
Okay, so we're doing Dallas. This will be the final one that we do.
Mm-hmm.
I will kick this one off because I know that Greg Rector. I'm going to Dallas. Again, first wide receiver off the board. Okay, Shane, what are you thinking the Cowboys do?
I think this is a real possibility at this pick, but also what I would do if I was going to take this position. Give me Matthew Golden out of Texas. Keep him in the state of Texas. He's my receiver one by a hair. There's like four guys all in that same like 10 pick range for me if I was building a board here. But Golden just gives me the best potential as a true separator on the outside. Love that for them with CD there too.
Drew, you are up.
I'm
just saying.
Yeah, even with Genty there, I'm still taking Jihad Campbell.
They do really. They're
this
bad.
Is a team that their only interior linebacker was Demarion Overshawn, and his knee exploded in like week 14.
It did.
So that's the guy you're not going to get for most of this year. Yeah. And you have a top 10 player, in my opinion, in Jihad Campbell, who the NFL is incredibly high on. I think that's a home run.
I'm following you with Jalen Walker.
Hey. If anyone's going to be able to make him an edge rusher, they already sort of did a similar thing with Parsons, right? Like
neither one of them have positions, but you have him and Overshawn both floating in between on and off ball, just confusing everybody. That's a nightmare playing for.
And I know that Greg likes Walker, Campbell, and Egbuka specifically. But Shane, last pick.
I'll do it because this is what so many people want to happen, I think, or think was going to happen. We'll see if he goes before this pick anyway. I think this could be his floor, Ashton Genty. I mean, they try to go back to the well of the Ezekiel Elliott strategy of let's just get a beast of running back in the room and try to make Dak as good as possible with that. So there you go.
Okay. So for anybody that is relatively new to this simulator, anybody you pick moves up a draft board.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the A+. The simulator is programmed to pick the top player on a team's draft card when they're on the clock. So the more you pick somebody, the more they move up. The challenge will be like if you really got to be obsessive and control your fourth and your fifth and your sixth round picks for your team, you may have to pick them a couple of times to get them to go up to the top.
Right.
But that's the type of fanatic that we're looking for. So for Shane, for Drew, for the 52 podcasters at the Draft Professor, we will see you on a podcast again tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everybody.